Friends, let us start the classes. We don't wait for any more time extra. Already it is delayed by nearly 20 minutes. So, matter of 40 minutes only is left out here. Last class we discussed about the definition of heat exchanger, classification of heat exchangers. So, direct contact type, indirect contact type, cross flow type, and shell and tube type of heat exchangers here. And one more thing also, indirect contact type of heat exchangers sometimes are also called as recuperators, and these are all the very generally used kind of applications for all types of cooling, heating, condensation, and evaporation applications. We use these indirect contact type of heat exchangers. Shell and tube type of heat exchangers, when there is a space limitation and cannot be increased the length of the tubes, and also so the number of tubes cannot be increased by decreasing the diameter. In those cases, so we go for adopting the shell and tube type of heat exchangers. And shell means it is a cylindrical drum into which the number of tubes taken into turns are provided or may be passed like this. If you see here the first case, outermost one, if you are considering as a shell, into that shell the number of tubes are taken for two turns. So this is one shell, two tube pass heat exchanger. That is what. If you see even more extra heat to be dissipated means from the same location, then so two shells. So this is what is in each shell also again two turns are taken by the tubes. So the overall this configuration is called as two shell four tube pass heat exchangers. Two shell four tube pass. In the same length, tubes have taken four times the turns. In the same length, tubes have taken the length for four times. So this is what is two shell and four tube passes cases we are saying it as. Next, continuation of that, we also have worked out how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient. Overall heat transfer coefficient while the fluid is flowing through a tube. So internally, when some kind of fluid is allowed, maybe hot or cold fluid, outside of the tube, one more fluid is allowed to flow. So here, either depending upon the outside diameter of the tube or inside diameter of the tube, so we can calculate the overall heat transfer coefficient. So this is what is the tube. If you imagine, inside one kind of fluid may be allowed, outside another kind of fluid may be allowed. If the heat transfer coefficient is calculated based on outer surface area, this is what we are saying it as U naught. And if based on inner surface, if you calculate, this is what is known as overall heat transfer coefficient based on inner surface. So, but UI is different, U naught is different, but all the times UA is constant. That means, so if you consider U naught A naught equal to UIAI. If you look at the surface area, since outer diameter is larger, outer surface area is larger, therefore overall heat transfer coefficient based on outer surface area for any tube surface is lesser than the overall heat transfer coefficient estimated based on inner surface area. That is what is. So from the available relations for overall heat transfer coefficient based on outer surface area, that is equal to 1 by H naught. So R naught by K, ln R naught by Ri plus R naught by Ri into 1 by Hi. If the same is calculated based on inner surface Ui, 1 by half 1 by Hi, Ri by K, ln R naught by Ri, Ri by R naught 1 by H naught will come. These you don't remember also straight away from the data book. You can take these relations and can straight away substitute. Those by substituting, we can get the value of overall heat transfer coefficient like that. So the value estimated is 2591.9 watt per meter square Kelvin. In the given problem, they gave what is outside overall heat transfer coefficient, and also inner radius and outer radius are given, or inner diameter and outer diameter is given for the given problem, and the water velocity while flowing through the tube is also given. So except HI value, HI to found out, this is what is the method we are following. Already from the fundamentals that we have discussed in the convection problems, while the fluid is flowing internally, Reynolds number just by calculating, if this value is less than 2300, then we say that the flow is laminar. As it is more than 2300, we say that the flow taken place by the fluid inside of the tube is turbulent. So for turbulent flow, assuming the fully developed flow, using the Ditus-Bolt equation for Nusselt number, that is 0.023 Re to the power zero point 0.8 or 4 by 5, Pr to the power zero point 4. These are all available in the data book, satisfying the flow conditions and the what is that nature of flow taken place through the tube. The Nusselt number equation is taken from the data book, into which by substituting the Nusselt number is estimated as 135.79. That Nusselt number by equating to HI di by K. From there HI value is calculated as 3575. After getting HI, already known the value of H naught, how to get the overall heat transfer coefficient using this relation. This is already available in the data book, or you can remember, or you can work it out also. Then so from there u naught is calculated. Then what are the fouling effects? Fouling is, suppose if the heat exchanger is used for more than a year or more than 2 years continuously. Suppose if any of the fluid, if the hot fluid or the cold fluid, if it carries any kind of what is that foreign particles along with the fluid flowing, in any foreign particles or abrasive materials are taken along with the of the fluid, there are the chances of getting deposited over the surface while flowing. So as due to continuous accumulation of the deposits, so the surface resistance will increase. That will affect the heat transfer rate taken place either from inner side of the tube to outer side, or from outer side of the tube to inner side. So that effect we will call it as fouling. The surfaces are getting clogged or getting deposited with by means of external foreign particles, or what is that what is that we call it as foreign deposits, or any abrasive materials carried by the fluid particles. Due to continuous accumulation of the particles, so the surfaces may get clogged. That may affect the heat transfer rate taken place. So that is why when consider the fouling effect also into consideration, then how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient, that is taken like this: 1 by of overall heat transfer coefficient with the inclusion of fouling. So that is additional deposition of foreign particles over the solid surfaces. There is nothing but the tube surfaces. That is equal to overall heat transfer coefficient estimated by considering the fouling effect also into consideration, equal to, this is fouling resistance. RF means fouling resistance plus 1 by of overall heat transfer coefficient estimated without any fouling effects. So that is for clean surfaces. When no foreign particles are deposited, or if there are the chances of getting chemical reaction between the fluid flowing and the contact surface, there is a chance of getting formation of rust, or like this bit rust formation may take place over the surface, which may affect the heat transfer rate also. So that is why we call that effect as fouling. When you take the fouling also into consideration, how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient is 1 by of u fouling equal to, so this is the resistance due to fouling plus 1 by of u clean. So this is, so whatever the overall heat transfer coefficient just now we have calculated, this is for assuming the surface are so clean. So this is u naught for clean surfaces, we are saying. This is u naught estimated for clean surfaces. So that is what is the case we are considering here. Whatever u value we have just now estimated, and how do you calculate? So overall heat transfer coefficient with the inclusion of fouling effects also equal to, so that is the resistance of fouling plus 1 by of u clean. So from here you can calculate, already u naught is estimated and ui is also estimated with the inclusion of fouling resistance also. So fouling resistance for various combination of materials are taken like this. Suppose seawater, while it is allowed to flow through the tubes, boiler tubes below 50 degrees centigrade, then how much of RF value should be taken? When fuel oil is allowed to flow through a tube, so then how much of, what is that RF value to be taken? Well, when alcohol vapors are allowed to flow, how much of R value to be taken? So these are all, when refrigerant liquid, that may be R12, R22 or R134, any kind of refrigerant, if it is flowing through a tube surface, then what is the RF value must be taken like this. So for various combination of fluids while flowing through a tube, how to take the fouling resistances, that and all will be taken. So that is what is overall heat transfer coefficient with the inclusion of fouling equal to, so this is fouling resistance plus overall heat transfer coefficient estimated. So by treating the surface as a clean surface, so we know how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient. So for clean surfaces, this is what is estimation of overall heat transfer coefficient for clean surfaces, and with the inclusion of fouling resistance also, this is what is the equation for overall heat transfer coefficient based on outer surface area, 1 by h naught. This is additionally has come, this also has additionally has come, this and this are same, which were already seen. Similarly, overall heat transfer coefficient with the inclusion of fouling resistance, if you see here, this is calculated based on inner surface, Rfi into Ri by K, R naught by Ri, Ri by R naught into Rf naught. These are the additional terms are added. This and these are the additional terms are added when fouling effects are also considered. Otherwise, so without this is same as that of earlier with the clean surfaces what we have. So you don't remember anything. These relations also, they are already available in the data book. Straight away we can take it and substitute, get the values of RFI, and that means fouling resistance if it is observed on the inner surfaces, fouling resistance if it is considered for outer surfaces. So determine the overall heat transfer coefficient U naught based on outer surface of, so this diameter and inner surface of this diameter. Heat exchanger tube has the thermal conductivity of 102 watt per meter Kelvin. So this is, if the heat transfer coefficient at the inner side and outer side are, this is are given. HA is this much, H naught is this much. The fouling resistance values are, fouling factors are taken to be of, both RF naught is also same as that of RI. So that is what is nothing but 0.0002 meter square per watt per Kelvin, meter square per watt, meter square watt per Kelvin. So inverse of overall heat transfer coefficient is fouling resistance. That is what we have. So if we have directly taken the overall heat transfer coefficient with the inclusion of fouling resistance and into that equation by substituting Rf naught and Rfi are same, those by substituting, ultimately we have got the value of overall heat transfer coefficient, that is equal to 1110 watt per meter square Kelvin. This is how we will estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient, so for heat exchangers. So this is fouling resistance means due to continuous operation of the heat exchanger, there are the chances of getting clogged due to deposition of any particles that are carried by the fluid, heat exchanger fluid, that may be on the hot fluid side, that may be on the cold fluid side. So that is why as continuously they got deposited, that will affect the heat transfer rate by increasing the thermal resistance value. Those also by considering, this is how we will estimate the overall heat transfer coefficients. So this is what about we have discussed. Next is, so heat exchanger analysis we are discussing. Heat exchanger analysis we are discussing. So what do you mean by heat exchanger analysis? So here mechanical design when done, what we have done, what we have done in the case of mechanical design. So here satisfying the external loads, what are the dimensions required by the individual mechanical components? That may be a shaft, that may be any other kind of link, that may be of any other what is that, shaft or beam, whatever it may be, or any kind of bracket or any bearing or anything, whatever may be, or what kind whatever it may be, spring, whatever it is, all are all mechanical components. So what dimensions you need to provide for the chosen components, satisfying the external loads that are coming onto the components. So there we have. So in the case of design, first what do we do? So here in the case of design, satisfying the external loads that are coming onto the components, what are the dimensions required? Here also in the case of heat exchanger, we do the thermal design, not the mechanical design. Suppose, so from hot fluid side to cold fluid side in a heat exchanger, then so much of heat has to be transferred. That is what is one requirement. So when this much of heat has to be transferred from hot fluid side to cold fluid side, so that's value. From hot fluid side to cold fluid side, so much of heat if you want to transfer, so that's value equal to heat lost by the hot fluid equal to heat gained by the cold fluid, assuming that there are no other losses. So that is in a heat exchanger. So simultaneously two fluids are flowing, one hot fluid and one cold fluid. Then heat lost by the hot fluid equal to heat gained by the cold fluid, and the heat exchange is purely taken place between hot and cold fluid, not by any other medium. The heat transfer is taken place except these two hot and cold fluids, and we assume that the heat lost by the hot fluid equal to heat gained by the cold fluid. therefore heat lost. So entering the hot fluid at this mass flow rate with specific heat of this much, hot fluid enters with this temperature, leaving with this temperature. So this is the heat lost by the hot fluid. Then what is the heat gained by the cold fluid? MCCC into, so here when hot cold fluid enters with this temperature, that will raise the temperature to a value of Tc naught, therefore Tc naught minus Tci. So this is what is the heat transfer gained by the cold fluid. So heat lost by the hot fluid is that one. So when this much of heat has to be transferred from one fluid to other fluid, then what is the size of the heat exchanger required? That we will do in the case of heat exchanger design. In the case of heat exchanger design, so this is what we do. Q equal to UA into delta Tm. A we will fix it up. Then what is the area of the heat exchanger required? This we are going to fix it up. So what is the area of the heat exchanger required? While exchanging so much of heat from hot fluid to cold fluid, having a net temperature difference for the entire heat exchanger as so much, and overall heat transfer coefficient between hot and cold fluid for the heat exchanger is so much. Knowing this, we can fix up what is the area of the heat exchanger required. So, but before that, you must check whether all the values are known except heat exchanger area. No, if not, how to find out? Just now we have discussed how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient both for clean surfaces and the what is the fouling surfaces. So this is with the inclusion of fouling effect, how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient we have seen. Even with the clean surface also, how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient we have seen. So we know how to estimate what is the rate of heat transferred from hot fluid to cold fluid. So just by getting, so that is delta Tm, mean temperature between hot and cold fluid for the entire heat exchanger. That by getting it, we can estimate ultimately the unknown value A. So now we know, so how to estimate the heat transferred from hot fluid to cold fluid. So what is the procedure for followed? So for estimation of overall heat transfer coefficient, this also by knowing, that is delta Tm, that is mean temperature difference between hot and cold fluid for the entire heat exchanger, that also by knowing the procedure, then the unknown value A can be fixed from the thermal analysis of the heat exchanger. So for that to be done, the very first method is, so LMTD method, that is, so mean temperature difference, which is obtained in the form of logarithm. Therefore, it is called as logarithmic mean temperature difference. We call it as. So that is the mean temperature difference delta Tm, so which is obtained in the form of logarithm. It also will be called as logarithmic mean temperature difference. For different kind of heat exchangers, how do you estimate the, so logarithmic mean temperature difference? That is what is our next procedure. Knowing separately what is delta Tm, so knowing separately what is Q, knowing separately what is U, A can be estimated. That is what is our objective from the thermal design of a heat exchanger. We are not doing any mechanical design. So only thermal design we are doing. That means exchanging of how much heat from hot fluid side to cold fluid side. So here, then what is the size of the heat exchanger required, that we will decide. So to decide the heat exchanger area, so you need to calculate Q value. We have already known the procedure. Q, how do you estimate? Equating the energy lost by hot fluid equal to energy gained by the cold fluid. Either from here we can calculate how much heat has transferred, or U value also is already calculated. Delta Tm also by calculating, A can be fixed. So before we proceed for estimation of delta Tm, certain assumptions we are making. So for a simple basic parallel flow heat exchanger. So here, for a parallel flow heat exchanger, we are considering elemental. We are considering the elemental thickness dx at a distance from one side of the heat exchanger at a distance of x, the thickness of dx, a small elemental thickness of the heat exchanger is taken. Parallel flow heat exchanger means it is a double flow heat exchanger. It is a double flow heat exchanger. So where through the innermost tube one fluid is allowed, through the outermost annular tube so other fluid is allowed. Let us assume that cold fluid with TCI temperature, this is cold fluid inlet temperature is allowed, and the cold fluid is leaving with a temperature of TC naught. Mass flow rate of cold fluid entering is MC dot. MC dot, that is MC dot. So this is the mass flow rate of cold fluid entering, and what is mass flow rate of hot fluid entering is MH dot. So this is what is MH dot. With this mass flow rate, it is entering from annular space. Annular space means space between innermost tube and the outermost tube, through that. And both fluids are allowed to flow in the same direction. Cold fluid in whichever direction it is flowing, in the same direction hot fluid is also allowed to flow. So this is what is parallel flow heat exchanger we are saying. Counter flow means so traveling in the opposite direction to each other, the heat transfer is taken place from hot fluid side to cold fluid. That kind of orientation we call it as counter flow. Counter means coming opposite to each other. Parallel means moving in the same direction by the same fluids, that is hot and cold fluids. So here the temperature profiles I have drawn. Hot fluid with THI temperature is entering at the inlet. On transfer of heat from hot fluid to cold fluid, what will happen? There is a continuous drop of temperature. So temperature profile, if you see, why this is not maintained constant? There is a continuous drop of temperature from THI to TH naught. So this is moving in the forward direction. That is the direction shown in the arrow marker. So there is a drop of temperature while it is flowing through the length of the heat exchanger. While entering, it has THI. At the exit of the heat exchanger, the hot fluid has a temperature of TH naught. So TH naught must be at lesser level than the, so that is THI level. Cold fluid is entering from other side. Cold fluid is entering with the TCI temperature. On receiving the heat, the temperature must increase. This is what is compared to TCI. TC naught must be at higher level. So this is what I have shown, and the arrow mark also must be shown in the same forward direction. This is applicable for the parallel flow. Both must travel in the same direction, and hot fluid is dropping the temperature by rejecting the heat. Cold fluid is increasing the temperature from TCI to TC naught. So that is by receiving or by absorbing the heat that is lost by the hot fluid. So these are the temperature profiles. Suppose if the heat exchanger has a length of this much, 0 to L, this much length if it is there for the heat exchanger, this is the length if it has heat exchanger has from inlet to outlet. Within this length, from hot fluid side to cold fluid side, so the temperature profiles are changing like this. Hot fluid temperature is dropping, cold fluid temperature is increasing. So now at a specific distance of x, in the total length of L at a distance of x with a thickness of dx, so this is what is the heat exchanger area. Now I am concentrating, or heat exchanger elemental length I have taken. Over that elemental length, the amount of heat transferred also elemental quantity. So for the whole heat exchanger, the heat transferred is Q. So that Q equal to UA into delta Tm. So Q equal to UA into delta Tm. This is applicable for whole heat exchanger. But here we are considering small length of the heat exchanger. So that is small length of the, so here in the entire length we are concentrating on the elemental length of thickness dx, over which only an elemental heat transfer only is taken place, dq. And we have assumed that overall heat transfer coefficient, whether it is for a small length or the full length also, that remains constant. That is what is the first of the assumption we have made. Heat transfer coefficient is uniform at every section of the heat exchanger. So at every minute part of the heat exchanger also U remains constant. Even within a thickness of dx also U remains constant. So change of potential energy and kinetic energies are negligible. Specific heats for the fluids are constant throughout the length. As the fluids are moving over a length of L, specific heat for cold fluid, specific heat for hot fluid, they do not change at all. So the heat exchange is purely taken between hot and cold fluid. That means quantity of heat lost by the hot fluid is same as that of quantity of heat received by the cold fluid. So that is what we have taken, satisfying all those assumptions. So this is what is over the elemental length or thickness of the heat exchanger we have taken. only elemental heat transfer is taken place through a thickness of elemental thickness dx. So what is the elemental heat transfer taken place through the thickness of dx equal to u into dA into delta T, u into dA into delta T. So since smaller area is available, so this is not the whole heat exchanger area. If you take it, that is whole length is considered, it means. But we are considering only small length, means in the small length, what is the smaller area considered for the heat exchanger? U into dA into, so what is the temperature difference between the hot and cold fluid in the thickness of dx, means that is the change of temperature from hot fluid to cold fluid, Th minus Tc, Th minus Tc. So in a small thickness, the small area is considered U into dA, Th minus Tc. What is delta T, means this is the absolute temperature difference from hot fluid and cold fluid, Th minus Tc, within a small sectional thickness, that is dx. That is, so then what is the heat lost by the within the same thickness dx, what is the heat lost by the hot fluid? So that is equal to, from thermodynamics concept, so heat lost by the system is positive, heat lost by the system is negative, heat added to the system is positive. So therefore hot fluid is rejecting the heat or losing the heat, that is the heat loss we are considering. Minus value, it is represented mh dot into ch, this is specific heat. And in a small thickness, you see here, in a small thickness dx, so here, so from here to here there is a drop of temperature for the hot fluid. So from this level to this level, the temperature drop is taken place. So similarly, for in the same thickness, here to there, the temperature is increased for the cold fluid. So by dTh value, temperature drop is taken place. By dTc value, the temperature increase is taken place for the cold fluid. dq equal to minus mh dot into ch dth, dq equal to mc dot cc dtc. Why positive sign is taken? That is added to the cold fluid. This quantity of heat is lost by the hot fluid. Heat lost by the system is negative, heat added to the system is positive as per thermodynamic concepts. So from there, it is also written as dq equal to the product of mass flow rate into specific heat is written as heat capacity. Heat capacity, when this is considered for the hot fluid, so capital C suffix H. So similarly for cold fluid also, if you write dq equal to specific heat of the cold fluid, Cc. Capital C represents specific heat or heat capacity. Capital C represents heat capacity. Small c represents specific heat. Mass flow rate into specific heat gives the heat capacity. As I have mentioned here, capital C is different, small c is different. Small c represents specific heat, capital C represents heat capacity. So that is what I have mentioned here. Already at any section of the heat exchanger also, delta T means that is the difference between, so temperature of hot and cold fluid, Th minus Tc. So now I am taking the value of d of delta T. Already delta T I took it as Th minus Tc. Therefore d of Th minus Tc, it is written as dTh minus dTc. Now from this relation dTh can be written as dq by minus Ch, dq by minus Ch. In the place of dTh, what can be written from this relation? So dq by minus Ch, then minus dTc, how do you write from this relation? dq by Cc, minus dq by Cc. In both the cases, minus dq is common. Minus dq is taken, 1 by of capital Ch plus 1 by of capital Cc. These are the heat capacity of hot fluid, heat capacity of the cold fluid, these are. So then d of delta T is taken as, so what is that we can write? So u into dA, what is that we can write? Th minus, so Th minus Tc we are writing, that also we take it as. So what is this value? Delta T into 1 by of Ch plus 1 by Cc. So minus of d of delta T, from this relation, how do we take it? dq equal to minus u into dA into delta T, dq equal to minus u into dA into delta T. These will remain as it is. So from there, what can be written? So now, so this is the ultimate equation we are getting for the heat exchanger. d of delta T equal to minus of u into dA into delta T. delta T into of 1 by Ch plus 1 by Cc. Now from this relation, delta T also if I take to numerator, then this will become d of delta T by delta T equal to minus u into dA into 1 by Ch plus 1 by Cc. Now for the whole heat exchange. So this is the equation written. This is the equation written for a heat exchanger of thickness dx. Now for the whole length of the heat exchanger, this equation is to be expanded. Therefore, so at the starting of the heat exchanger, what is the temperature difference? This is the starting of the or inlet of the heat exchanger. So this is the inlet of the heat exchanger. This is the exit of the heat exchanger. So here what is the temperature difference? That is delta T1. At the exit, what is the temperature difference? Delta T2. So that is what I am substituting. From delta T1 to delta T2, this must be integrated. So where delta T1 is connected to section 1, delta T2 is connected to section 2. From 1 and 2, so here when integration is done, we will get the whole area of the heat exchanger. So that is what is integral of dA from 1 to 2, that gives the total area of the heat exchanger. Ln of delta T2 by, this is similar to that of dx by x integral. So this can be written as ln of x. So when substituted upper limit and lower limit, this has become ln of delta T2 by delta T1. So when whole integration is done for the whole heat exchanger from 1 to 2 sections, so the whole area we are getting minus u into A. As it is, these constants will come 1 by of capital CH plus 1 by of capital CC. So here from initially we have seen one equation, Q equal to m dot mh dot ch into thi minus th naught. So from here what can be written? So what is capital CH? From here what is capital CH and what is capital CC? Those by substituting, I will get under rearranging those terms. Capital CH by getting it as thi minus th naught. This is Cc means Tc naught minus Tci. Those by rearranging, what can be obtained? Thi minus Tci minus of Th naught minus Tc naught. So the same terms are rearranged and written like this. What is Thi minus Tci with regard to this of the parallel flow heat exchanger? If you see, delta 1 is representing the net temperature difference between hot and cold fluid. That is nothing but Thi minus Tci at the inlet level. At the exit level, what is the temperature difference? Th naught minus Tc naught. The gap between these two temperatures is delta T2. So that is what I have mentioned here. So this is Th naught minus Tc naught, I am writing it as delta T2. Thi minus Tci, I am writing it as delta T1. So this is Q equal to UA, and minus also if you take inside, delta T2 minus delta T1 by ln of delta T2 by delta T1 I am getting here. So this is what is Q alone if I have taken. This also if I bring to right hand side, ultimately Q is written as UA into delta T2 minus delta T1 by ln of delta T2 by delta T1. We also know that Q equal to UA into delta Tm. Now left side quantities from this equation and from this equation, when left side quantities are same, then right side quantities also we can equate. Here also UA is there, here also UA is there, then whole of this value must be equal to whole of this value. Therefore for a parallel flow heat exchanger, so the mean temperature difference for the whole heat exchanger equal to between hot and cold fluids, delta T2 minus delta T1 divided by ln of delta T2 by delta T1. What is delta T2 here means? Th naught minus Tc naught. So Th naught minus Tc naught equal to delta T2. Thi minus Tci equal to delta T1. So this is how we will calculate so the log mean temperature difference. So this is how for a parallel flow heat exchanger, so log mean temperature difference is estimated. Similarly, for other kind of heat exchanger, counter flow heat exchanger. So cold fluid, same cold fluid is allowed to flow through the same inner tube, whereas hot fluid is allowed to enter in the reverse direction. Sorry, I have mentioned in a different direction. So this must be allowed to enter in the reverse direction. Cold fluid is entering so through the innermost tube, hot fluid is flowing in a reverse direction. This is what is the direction of cold fluid, and hot fluid direction is reverse. Both are traveling in the reverse direction but in parallel direction. So this is what is the orientation we call as counterflow heat exchanger. If you see for the same counterflow heat exchanger, hot fluid with THA temperature is entering. On losing heat from the hot fluid, the temperature will come down to a value of TH naught. So counterflow heat exchanger means cold fluid must enter in the reverse direction. Cold fluid must enter in the reverse direction. Suppose cold fluid has entered in this direction, and after receiving the heat the temperature is increased. After receiving the heat the temperature is increased. So that is why cold fluid, so hot fluid has dropped the temperature while flowing in the forward direction. Cold fluid has entered in the reverse direction. Cold fluid has entered in the reverse direction and increasing its temperature from TCI to TC naught. So these are the temperature profiles for the counterflow heat exchanger we are saying. So then at the inlet of the heat exchanger, at the inlet of the heat exchanger, delta T1 means this is THI minus TC naught. So here at the exit of the heat exchanger, what is delta 2? Delta T2 means that is the difference between these two terminal temperatures, TH naught minus TCI. You see here, after looking into the parallel flow heat exchanger and the counterflow heat exchanger, for estimation of delta Tm, that is mean temperature difference, we must know all the terminal temperatures. For hot fluid, inlet temperature must be known, hot fluid outlet temperature must be known, cold fluid inlet temperature must be known, cold fluid outlet temperature also must be known. If that is a parallel flow heat exchanger, hot fluid inlet temperature must be known, hot fluid outlet temperature must be known, cold fluid inlet temperature must be known, cold fluid outlet temperature must be known. When you know all the terminal temperatures both for hot and cold fluids, then only we go for using LMTD method of heat exchanger analysis. When terminal temperatures are not known, LMTD method cannot be used there. So when you know the all terminal temperatures for a heat exchanger, we go for using LMTD method of heat exchanger analysis. Otherwise, so we don't use this method. So here also for a counterflow heat exchanger, hot fluid enters. So with the THI temperature, after losing heat, the temperature will come down to TH naught. As cold fluid is traveling in the opposite direction to the hot fluid, so that enters here and leaving with this temperature. Therefore, TC naught must be at higher level than TCI. So therefore, so at the inlet of the heat exchanger, what is the temperature gap between hot and cold fluid? THI minus TC naught. What is the temperature gap between hot and cold fluid here is TH naught minus TCI. So that is what is delta T2. So delta T1 is THI minus TC naught. So other relations are same as that of what we have just derived. So Q equal to UA delta Tm, that is also is written as UA into delta T1 minus delta T2 by ln of delta T1 by delta T2. So therefore, so in this equation also, UA remains same. Then delta TLM equal to, this is what is the value, delta T1 minus delta T2 ln of delta T1 by delta T2. Delta T1 equal to, so THI minus TC naught, delta T2 equal to TH naught minus TCI. So this is how delta Tm is calculated for a counterflow heat exchanger. So now, so knowing all these things, how to estimate the problems or how to solve the problems, we are looking in now. We are looking in the estimation of problems or how to solve the problems. You see here. In a double pipe counterflow heat exchanger, counterflow means it is both fluids are traveling in opposite direction. So double pipe means there are two pipes. So through innermost pipe one fluid is flowing, through the gap between two tubes, annular space we call it as, other fluid is flowing. While flowing, they are traveling in opposite directions to each other. And heat exchanger, an oil of at this mass flow rate 10,000 kg per hour, having a specific heat of 2095. So the specific heat for the fluid is this much, is cooled. Is cooled means from 80 to 50 initially. So then this is considered to be the hot fluid. Hot fluid is considered to be at 80 degrees centigrade. On looking at the terminology, one will understand that, so this fluid is getting cooled means initially that was at high temperature, and after dropping the temperature it has cooled. So that means from where to where the temperature drop is taken place, from 80 to 50. So then we can assume that this is equal to Thi, this is equal to Thi temperature. So this is equal to Th naught temperature. So for the hot fluid, the temperature drop is taken place. So from 80 to 50, while the mass flow rate of hot fluid equal to 10,000 kg per hour, hot fluid specific heat equal to 2095 joule per kg Kelvin. So how is that cooling is taken place? With the help of cold fluid. Cold fluid flowing at a rate of 8,000 kg per hour, while the water is entering at a temperature of TCI is given. TCI is given, that is entering at a temperature of 25 degrees centigrade. Then what they are asking you to calculate, determine the heat exchanger area. So determine the heat exchanger area when the overall heat transfer coefficient for the heat exchanger is 300 watt per meter square Kelvin, and take Cp value for water equal to 4180. If not given also, you must remember it as 4186 or 4187 joule per kg Kelvin. Knowing all these values, hot fluid with this mass flow rate 10,000 kg per hour and 2095, so specific heat joule per kg Kelvin, that is entering with 80 degrees, after losing heat, that is leaving at a temperature of 50. That means hot fluid got cooled, so cold fluid becomes hotter. So therefore, how do you estimate cold fluid outlet temperature? We know all the mass flow rates. So since we, for any of the heat exchanger for any of the heat exchanger also, heat lost by the hot fluid equal to heat gained by the cold fluid. Heat lost by the hot fluid, so mH into Cph, from Thi to Th naught, this is the amount of heat lost. What is the heat gained by the cold fluid? Mc dot into Cc. Tc naught is larger than the Tci, so Tc naught minus 25. So that means Tc naught, this is how we will be able to calculate. So now for the given heat exchanger, we know all the terminal temperatures. We know all the terminal temperature. That means cold fluid, hot fluid inlet temperature, hot fluid outlet temperature, cold fluid inlet temperature, cold fluid outlet temperature. In the problem itself, it is considered as a counterflow heat exchanger. So counterflow heat exchanger or reverse flow heat exchanger. Therefore, hot fluid will drop the temperature. Hot fluid will drop the temperature while flowing in the forward direction. Hot fluid, hot fluid will drop the temperature. So like this, cold fluid will increase the temperature while flowing in the reverse direction. So that is what I have shown. Then, so at the inlet level, so the delta T1 equal to Thi minus Tc naught. At the exit level, Th naught minus Tci is the temperature difference between hot and cold fluids. So delta T1 means that is temperature difference at a section. So now this is at the inlet section, this is for the exit section of the heat exchanger. So what is delta T1? Thi minus Tc naught, Th naught minus Tci. In this case, all the temperatures are known, that is all the terminal temperatures are known. Then we go for using this LMTD method. So therefore, using LMTD method, how do you find out? So Q value equal to UA into LMTD. In this case, UV is given. How do you calculate Q? Q can be calculated as either heat lost by the hot fluid from this equation or heat gained by the cold fluid from this equation. Either from this relation you can get Q, or from this relation you can get Q. So from there, by obtaining Q, that value is obtained as, so that is, so 1,74,583.33 watts. U value is already given in the problem, that is equal to overall heat transfer coefficient 300. So they are asking you to calculate what is the area of the heat exchanger. So before that, LMTD also must be known. LMTD, how do you calculate for the counterflow heat exchanger? So that is delta T1 minus delta T2 by ln of delta T1 by ln delta T2. What is delta T1? Gap between hot and cold fluid, Thi minus Tc naught at inlet section, Th naught minus Tci at outlet section. Those we have estimated. Therefore, delta T1 by delta T1 minus delta T2, delta T1 minus delta T2 divided by ln delta T1 by delta T2. All other things by knowing. So except the heat exchanger area required is 19.23 meter square. Of size of the area is required for the heat exchanger. So to drop the temperatures as per the given values. So this is how we will solve the problems. So here in the case of heat exchangers. Hope you have understood. I am closing here.